Ooh, hello. All right, yesterday we talked about fanboys. Yesterday we talked about coordinating conjunctions. We talked about for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. Today we're actually going to talk about something a little different called subordinate conjunctions. Subordinating conjunctions. That's what we're talking about today. Okay, different is different. However, the beauty is, and this is true for everyone in this classroom and people watching at home, you guys have talked about this for 7 weeks. You know how I know? Well, I'll ask you how I know that. A subordinating conjunction is a conjunction that introduces a subordinate clause and connects it to a main clause to create a complex sentence. Where have we ever heard of complex sentence? Yes.
DLR.
Our DLR. For 7 weeks we've done this. Now, next week, we are going to get back to our DLR. You will be well equipped, or at least better equipped, to answer, is this a complex, compound, simple, or complex compound sentence? You are better equipped now because you will understand it a little better. Does anybody know what the word subordinate means? Like for real, I know what it means.
No, I don't rely on something.
Close.
When you're not, when the teacher asks you to do something, but you're like, no, and you're not being so bored.
Yes, you're defying. Well, and that is true. Both you guys are true. Now check this out. When I was in the military, there is a sergeant, and then there's a staff sergeant, and then you had me, the specialist. The staff sergeant never really talked to me. He would talk to the sergeant, and the sergeant would talk to me. The sergeant was the staff sergeant's subordinate. I was the sergeant's subordinate. There was no one under me. That's just how it goes. However, in this school, we have a principal, and then we have a dean of students, and then we have a teacher.
Wait, wouldn't that be principal?
Wait a minute. Isn't dean of students at the top?
We have principals, yeah. We have principals and then other admin team, but ultimately I'm subordinate to them. I'm under them in authority. Does that make sense? Yeah?
I thought dean was above the principal.
Not above.
Wait, so they talk to the sergeant that talks to you because
Yep.
of like respect?
No, it's just the idea of who is in my charge. Sergeant's in my charge. I'm going to tell you what needs to happen. The sergeant says, all right, I'm going to tell my people who are in my charge what needs to happen. So therefore we were under them. Yes?
So is it like if Mr. Wagner talks to teachers and principals, but he doesn't talk to the students?
Boom! That's a very, very good job. Dr. Wagner has probably never spoken to you guys.
He's spoken to me.
He's the superintendent, all right? He does not necessarily speak to me directly. He talks to the principals. The principals talk to me. See how that works? Because he can't talk to 10,000 teachers. Well, it's not 10,000, it's 500 teachers. He can't talk to 500 teachers, but he can get 14 principals in a building and say, in a room and say, hey, here's what needs to happen. Okay? So all I want you to do is concentrate on the fact that subordinate means you're underneath, you're relying on something else. I was relying on my sergeant to give me orders. The sergeant was relying on the staff sergeant to give him orders. Okay? Subordinate clause, and you know this, is a sentence fragment that relies on the main clause or a complete sentence of the sentence. So check this out. When the phone rang,
When the phone rang, what?
exactly. Tell me more. What else? Notice there's a comma. When the phone rang, she answered it quickly.
Dependent and independent clause.
She answered it quickly is a sentence. That is a full sentence. However, it's linked with when the phone rang. That is not a complete sentence. So in this case, we have a dependent clause along with an independent clause. Therefore, it is a complex sentence. Yes?
How is she answered it quickly a full sentence? Because she answered it doesn't really refer to anything.
Right. In this case, we would say she answered the phone quickly. I'm glad you asked that. On the 20th and 21st, we're going to take a unit test. Can I ask this question by show of hands? Does anybody know what part of speech this word is? Yes?
A verb?
This one right here?
No.
Okay. What do you think? Adverb. What does it modify? What did she do quickly? Answered. That is a verb. You had better know that. Next week, you had better know that. You guys playing along at home, you had better be able to determine what's going on there. Now, as this young man stated, do we know what part of speech this is? Ah? Yeah? Pronoun is absolutely correct. What do we call the word that it refers to? That's a tough one. Starts with an A? Yeah? 4 syllables? Nope. It's a tough one. Antecedent. Well, we went over it because, hey, check it out. She answered it as he stated. Well, we don't know what it is, but in the sentence, the phone. When the phone rang, she answered it quickly. It is a pronoun that refers back to phone. There's your antecedent. There's your antecedent. Okay? So you're going to have to know that. You also have to know that this right here is a dependent clause. It is a phrase that does not make sense without everything else. Okay? So let's look at some more examples. And reminder, I still need to get you guys that are wearing Hornets gear a Jolly Rancher. If you have not written these down, you need to write these down el now, which is Spanish for the now. Okay?
El now.
A subordinate
It's not.
conjunction,
It really isn't.
a subordinating conjunction connects the two ideas and establishes an order of importance between the two clauses. After, before, because, as, when, until, whereas, whether, while, unless. There are a number of other words that fit in here. Okay? But when we say something, when the bell rings, that starts with when. That's a subordinating conjunction, and the phrase that comes after isn't really going to help us much until it's connected to something else. Yes?
One that was not at all Spanish.
I know, that's all right. I was just being silly. I was just trying to be funny about
Oh,
it.
just the
So here we go. When the bell rang, the students packed up their belongings and left the room. Now stop right there. We know when the bell rang does not help us. That does nothing for us. Therefore, that is the phrase. It's everything else that we need. But notice this little thing right here. What do you call that? Comma. The difference between a comma and a comma is one M. Okay? When the bell rang, the students packed up their belongings and left the room. The students packed up their belongings and left the room is a standalone sentence. That is a fine sentence. That is a wonderful sentence. However, we put a subordinating clause in front of it with the subordinating conjunction right here. Now, here's the trick I'm going to tell you, because when we do the back side of that sheet, here's the trick I'm going to tell you that's really going to help you. It's helped my first 3 classes. It's going to help you. If you take this section and put it at the end, it would say this: the students packed up their belongings and left the room when the bell rang. Does that make sense? You're doggone right it does. Okay? You're doggone right it does. And guess what? The next slide, they're going to show us that. And that is the trick, or that is the sort of check that we can use to make sure that we're choosing the right subordinating conjunction. So here we go. Let's look at this next one. Well, we know the next one is, it's switch those. So there it is right there. Yeah.
So the way you can tell if it's the right subordinating conjunction is if you can switch it to the end of the sentence and it makes sense.
Yes, but I ask you, what would you do in this sentence?
What do you mean?
In this sentence, we have a phrase, when the bell rang. It is subordinate to the students packed up their belongings and left the room. What if the sentence originally looked like this? What would we have to do then? Yes?
You can try the beginning and see if it works.
Bring it over here. When the bell rang, comma, the students packed up their belongings and left the room. Guess what? That works. There's your phrase clause, your subordinate clause. This is your independent clause. Put that at the front, and it still works. You know you've got the right thing when you circle the word and go to the period. At this point, this becomes your subordinating clause. I'll give you another tip. Yes? No, ooh. Instead of when, you could. I think you can. I'm going to give you one more. I'm going to do another sentence, and then I'm going to give you another tip. Even though, 2 words. Even though Susanna studied all night for her test. What? That's not helping us. She still failed the exam. She still failed the exam is a complete sentence. Now, if you took she still failed the exam, even though Susanna studied all night for the test, that works. That still works. Here's my other, well, I'll get to the slide where they switch it. Here you go. Ready? They switched it now. Susanna still failed the exam, even though she studied all night for the test.
That's a skill.
Now, ready for this? Because we know where we're heading on the 20th and 21st, excuse me, we know Susanna is what? What part of speech is Susanna? A noun. Not just any old noun, right? Proper noun. What part of speech is this word? Verb. Therefore, this is adverb. Great. What is this?
Article.
Article. What is this? A noun. But now we don't know this. At this point, we're like, whoa, we've got something here.
Well, buddy.
We got something going on here. Wait a minute. This is the subordinating conjunction. I now know what these types of words are. Yes. Yeah. What is this part of speech? Right here, front row, with your pencil. Go ahead. What is this part of speech right here? Yeah. What is this part of speech right here? No. What is it?
Pronoun.
Pronoun. What is this right here?
Verb.
Better, you bet. Yes.
Verb.
Verb, that's right. So we know every single type of word except, I didn't know what these were, Mr. Neiman. Well, guess what? Those are probably your subordinating conjunctions. By golly. So today, when you flip that sheet over, we're not getting there yet. When you flip that sheet over and you look at it and say, I don't know how to do this. Take your time, understand what each word is, and the ones you don't recognize, those could be your subordinating conjunctions. Because right now, we're throwing something new at you. You know noun, you know verb, you know adjective, you know pronoun, you know adverb. Now we're dealing with conjunctions. And now it's not any old conjunction, fanboys. It's subordinating conjunction. So let's get to these pictures. Oh, buddy. I need, and this is where we're going to stop. You can look at this picture. We're going to write a sentence with a subordinate clause along with a standalone sentence. And that's what we're going to do. So everybody in this classroom, get your pencil.